So good evening, all. So before we begin, just a quick introduction from my side. I'm Prince Sharma, working in the domain of the sustainability, green buildings, and product level impact assessment. I have been involved in areas like green building certifications, life cycle assessment, product carbon footprint assessment, and APD development. And apart from that, I am also been involved in the GHG inventory formations and verifications of the same for the different sectors. As we all know, challenges like climate change, resource depletion, human toxicity, uh, aerosols in the environment, and emerging risk of the microplastics in the environment and our water bodies are no longer distant. They are the directly impacting our business and performance today. So the critical question is, are we truly measuring the full impact of what we produce, what we are consuming, and or just managing what is visible? Because in most cases, organizations optimize cost at one stage while unknowingly creating their cost or risk or inefficiencies somewhere else in the value chain. And this is where the life cycle assessment becomes powerful, not just a sustainability tool, but as a decision making tool. It optimizes the resources, it optimizes your impact, and derive a better business outcome from your product and investments. So, as you all know, the today's agenda is the quantifying the ROI of the life cycle assessment for the product level decision making. Coming to our next slide. So, not taking long and directly coming to the business, what we are going to explore in this webinar. So we will be uncovering the cost savings that we can get from the life cycle assessment, the value creation opportunities that a life cycle assessment gives us. Then we will be identifying the high impact areas for the environmental impact as well as for the business. We will be using the LCA for the smarter choices, decision making, and performance driven benefits that we can take from the production and with the use of the life cycle assessment. We will be understanding how LCA strengthens our market positioning, compliance, and business growth, including environmental product declarations. So, very like what will be the flow of this webinar. So we will be first discussing the CEO's challenge, reducing cost and improving profitability. Then what is the life cycle assessment? And after that, we will be discussing why life cycle assessment is the key to sustainability and which organizations and industries should adopt it. Return on the investment is the very important part, and that we will be covering in this webinar that we have already promised to you. Then cost versus liability we will be discussing, and one of the case studies for the interface we will be discussing. So starting to the main content of the webinar, a CEO's challenge, reducing cost and improving profitability. Suppose you are a CEO managing all the operations in an organization, making decisions regarding the process, how to develop things for the better outcome of the business. And in your manufacturing business, you are handling manufacturing of the ball bearings, braking systems, blinker, primarily which are used in the automotive industries. So if your investors ask you, which is a very general question to be asked to all those head of the departments or the leaderships in the organization, reduce operational cost and optimize your manufacturing process so that net profits can increase. What would be your approach? Would you just uh, fire the people, or would you just take random decisions? Would you just try to do something like uh, changing the process? So these could be one of the solutions for you, but if we go scientifically, if we go strategically, then life cycle assessment and this webinar can help you answer this question. So coming to our coming to the definition of the life cycle assessment, and before going to the definition part, first uh, we should understand what life cycle assessment is not before understanding what is the life cycle assessment. So if we generally see different people or different views, then you will find that people are talking about the different tools which they are calling the life cycle assessment, and that is not true. Just taking few of the names like SEMA-Pro, OpenLCA, they are not the LCA. They are just a tool like a calculator. So calculations are different and they are the methodology. They are scientifically based, strategically and methodology based. They are driven by some standards, and that is what we call life cycle assessment. So this is what that life cycle assessment is not. Now coming to what is the life cycle assessment. So life cycle assessment is scientifically based methodology used to systematically compile and evaluate the inputs, outputs, and potential environmental impacts associated with a product system throughout its entire life cycle, from raw material extraction, manufacturing, and distribution to use and end of the life disposal or recycling. So we try to map everything of a one product which are under the product system. Our product system is nothing but the constituent of all those processes which are under the product or fulfilling or making that product to uh, perform that function which are or which is intended to do. So LCA is not just an environmental tool, it is a cost intelligent tool. Every kilogram of waste material, energy, or unnecessary energy, every kilometer of inefficient transport that shows up as the environmental impact also shows up as a direct business cost. So LCA makes them visible. Directly, you can also make the impact lesser in a way. And that is all possible by the life cycle assessment. Now, taking this quiz. So you can, of course, answer this, but let me just read it for you. Why should manufacturers consider the full life cycle in LCA? To focus only on factory emissions, to identify impact from the material to disposal, to reduce labor cost, to improve packaging designs only. So why life cycle assessment is intended to? So if we talk about each one of the point, so as the first point says, focus only on the factory emissions. So of course, life cycle assessment is also focuses on the factory level emissions, but it is not something that it is not only that something the life cycle assessment focuses. It gives you different breakup, it gives you process level data, it gives you different material and stage wise data. So that is a very important thing. Second option, to identify impacts from raw material to disposal. Yes, out of all four, this one is the best suited point that life cycle assessment helps. And we can do everything that is written here in the life cycle assessment. So C point, to reduce labor cost. Yes, we can do that with the help of the social life cycle assessment, LCC, that is life cycle costing, and of course, environmental impact. And packaging is something that from that life cycle assessment started. So alone working on the factory emissions or not working on the full life cycle assessment will uh, lead to miss about 60 to 80% of the environmental impact from your product and processes. So this is the impact of not focusing on the life cycle assessment as a whole, but to focus on the factory level emissions or to focus on certain points in the supply chain. Now coming to why life cycle assessment is key to sustainability. So the very first point, it focuses on the full life cycle assessment and gives the visibility for the whole life cycle of the product. So second point, the hotspot identification. What is the hotspots? Hotspots are those categories, those processes, those points in your supply chain which are leading to the highest of the emissions and uh, uh, reducing your impact or increasing your impact on the environment. So if we say what exactly is the hotspot. So if your product is depleting ozone layer, then it is a hotspot point. If it is leading to high human toxicity, then that is also a human hotspot. Then third point, the reporting foundation. So this is the first thing that companies should do, and this is the very foundation for any sustainability reporting. So generally what we do BRSR reporting, we do CDP, we do GRI, but those are all not impacted on the ground. They are just a checkbox tick activity where we have just reported the things and we have not done anything on the ground. But or at least strategically or by the whole life cycle thinking, we have not done that. When we do the life cycle assessment, all of those things which we find from the life cycle assessment are something that contribute to your better ratings in the GRI, in BRSR, or in CDP reporting. So fourth point, alternative comparison. It gives you different alternative comparison for your designs, for your products, or to conclude that which one is better and in what categories. Coming to our fifth point, that is early design insights. So whenever you are in design phase of the product, you cannot miss that life cycle assessment of that product, because if you are not doing that, the 60 to 80% of the components of that product will be setting out, and you cannot change after that, or changing that those parameters will cause a very high uh, cost on that. So that is why early design and life cycle assessment of that product helps us to lead better decisions, to take good decisions strategically, as well as for the cost, as well as for the environment. It is not something that somebody has created and some software has created and you are just focusing on different people. So that is not something. LCA is totally standardized by the ISO 14040 and ISO 14044 standards. So they are ISO backed, documented, and scientific systems. So it's a very good thing to follow that. Now coming to the seventh point, that is quantified impact data and trade-off analysis. So suppose if you are doing something like we are, if this product is not good, we are doing this or that, we are reducing the energy, we are not using ODP materials, right? So with that you will be not getting the full picture of that material or the product. So what we do instead, if we do the life cycle assessment, we will be getting the whole impact of that product. So suppose if we talk about the microplastics, how you will be calculating that? Do you have any criteria or calculation method by which you can do the impact assessment of that? So in a way, those things are not possible. If I talk about the how a product or manufacturing or process is impacting human life, how you will be calculating that? In a general way, if life cycle assessment is not there, you will be not able to calculate that. And that is why it is very important. It gives you not just the qualitative or a way just this is less or this is high. it does not give the results in that way. It quantifies those data and compares with other data that you already have. So this is something that life cycle assessment gives. Apart from that, also in a product, if you are trying to change some composition, material composition, then change, because of the changes of that composition, what will be the impact on the other life cycle stages, that also can be given by the life cycle assessment. Coming to our next quiz, which area possesses the highest uncontrolled environmental impact risk for the companies as well as the financial risk? So these quizzes are not intended to ask you like what is the correct answer. This quiz is basically to just give you an idea what is happening and what exactly we should try to learn for the life cycle assessment. So this is for the full picture of the life cycle assessment. So option A says process operations, B says energy consumption, C supply chain, which is depending on the vendors, then D option waste handling. So if we see all of those points, few of you might say that A option is correct, few of you might say B or C or maybe D. And I am not going into which one is correct. So for me, it depends on the industry. It depends on your supply chain. It depends on your processes. So what is your product? What you are doing in your product life cycle? That is something which lead me to give you the answer that what is the particular thing that you need to focus and which is the uncontrolled environmental risk. So for that, life cycle assessment is very important. And if we talk about particularly process A, that is operations, process operations. So all those industries which are very heavy to the processes like cement industry, aluminum smelting, then glass manufacturing, and then our ceramics. These are some of the industries which are having very high uncontrolled environmental as well as our financial risk. When we talk about the energy consumption, so of course these stated organizations have their environmental impact as well as our financial risk. Then data centers, cold storage and refrigeration system companies, then textile and dyeing and finishing companies, then steel manufacturing companies, as I already said, are some of the organization or the industries which are very high energy consumption, leading to uncontrolled environmental impact risk as well as financial risk. Coming to supply chain vendors. So how supply chain can affect your environmental as well as financial risk. So it is not for all. Basically, if your product having a different and a lot of numerous number of the components in that case, you need to be assured of the supply chain. There you need to check if you are having the uncontrolled environmental risk there or not. So in supply chain, if we take automotive industry is one of the part, right? And OEMs where, like if we talk about a simple bike, it has hundreds or thousands of the parts, and that we talk about different uh, like products like car or maybe aeroplane. So in that case, the number of components are different and numerous, and in that case supply chain is very critical. And if we talk about the which one is the best suited point, then option C will be one of the thing for the automotive industry, then maybe retail and fashion industry, food and agriculture, then consumer electronics. So one of the very important thing is you cannot say that this is the very heavy point where it is damaging the organization or the industries. So coming to last, the waste handling. So pharmaceuticals, hospitals, healthcare, and packaging industry, construction and demolition industry are some of the very having the highly uncontrollable environmental risk as well as the financial risk. So this is about the basic of the financial and environmental risk depending on the processes. So this is all we can answer by the life cycle assessment. Which organization should adopt it? So basically the construction, apparel and textiles. In construction, not only just the products which are used in the construction, but also the buildings are nowadays being asked what is your like life cycle impact on the environment. Apart from that, we are also asking to the uh, builders that what is the LCC, that is life cycle costing, and we have like discussed it in our previous webinar in detail. What is the life cycle assessment, environmental part, then LCC, that is life cycle costing, and after that the social life cycle assessment. So it is very important thing, and that we have already discussed in our previous webinar. If you want to have that what is that and you want to get insight of that, then please go to our KBS channel and check out those things. Now apparel and textile, so clothings and covers, interiors. Apart from that, if we talk about the automotive industries, there is a lot of fabrics that we use in different parts of the uh, automotive industry. Then if we talk about the industries in we use the gloves, we use the jackets. So different type of product in we have geomembrane for the construction also, net, different type of nets. So there is a lot of in the apparels and the textile industry. So that also comes under the life cycle assessment, and we are doing a lot of things in that. Coming to our automobile and accessories part, this is, of course, we have already discussed how important and crucial it is. Then food and agricultural products. So this is also very important, since you are using different kind of fertilizers and pesticides, and of course we have a lot of microplastic in the soil. So how it is impacting your food, that also can be understood by the life cycle assessment, and it helps not just in that but also in the packaging food. Now coming to our chemicals, industrial and fertilizers. So of course they have very high and hazardous impact on the soil, on the humans, as well as the biodiversity. So chemicals is something very crucial and important for the life cycle assessment, to know what is their impact on the mother earth and as well as the ecosystem. Oil and gas, electronics. In electronics particularly, anything and you are watching and everything comes under the life cycle assessment, as the problem of the e-waste is very high and increasing rapidly. So electronics is something that is coming under the life cycle assessment, and companies are also following that. Then pharma sector. So we have a lot of waste, we have different kind of materials that we use like gloves, and we use only those for the single time. So that is something we need to understand and to analyze, so that we can make better decision, not just the at the environmental part, but on the financial term also. Coming to this return on investment part. So return on investment part, I have given five components. So first is identification of the high impact areas. Then second is direct financial returns. Third, product decision making. The fourth is access to new markets. The fifth, risk avoidance and branding. So let's discuss one by one. So very first point, identification of the high impact areas, as we have already discussed in the previous slide. Like different processes and different materials have different impact on the environment. And during the development of the product or during conducting the life cycle assessment, you are keen to understand which process have the highest impact so that you can optimize that process. So if we talk about only the material category, so material, if we take the raw material, it generally generates 40 to 60% of the GHG emissions, and those are varying depending on the categories. So changing those material with the replaceable of that, or having the low impact material in your product. Apart from that, using the uh, recycled material will also help to reduce the impact from the material category. Then coming to waste. If you are using different kind of materials for the packaging, so if you are using plastics, say for sake, or paper, or you are not optimizing that packaging, then what it will be lead to? Yes, of course, it will helping you during the delivery of the product, or it will be look nice. But what will be the impact after the selling? So after leaving your gate, factory gate, it will lead a lot of plastics in the environment, and a regulatory risk is always there. So waste handling is very important part. What you have released, you should be able to map it and reduce it, minimize it, or at least optimize it. Coming to the processes. So suppose we have different kind of processes, and if we have a furnace, and you are putting a lot of fuel in that, and it is generating a lot of high temperature in that, but you don't need that much of the temperature. So that extra temperature you have maintained in the furnace is the waste of the energy or the waste of the resources. So life cycle assessment gives you the optimized quantity of the resources that you need to or for the product development. So different processes, which processes is making very high impact on the environment or the humans or the uh, different aspects, maybe on the social life cycle assessment, that can also be checked. So that is something can be answered by the process level data, by analyzed by the life cycle assessment, and can lead you to get better processes and leading to better and cleaner product. Coming to the end of the life. So end of the life is a very important phase, where if you are not taking care of that product which is leaving your factory gate, and it is again I have discussed in the waste category. So if it is not coming under the circularity, it is not just your loss, but the loss of the environment, loss of the people, loss of the biodiversity, and leading a risk upon you. If you are anyhow optimizing the end of the life of your product, or by any mean, like take back program is there, or you are trying to take the uh, waste material and recycling that and using it in your process, then of course it is cheaper. It is having a high criteria or the levels in the sustainability. Of course, you will be getting the branding. Also, you are getting the better amount or profit from that. So coming to the transport part. So if you are just transporting your material or products in the supply chain, and not giving it a mind, you are not analyzing or doing the modal analysis, you are not checking which freight or which type of packaging should be good for your product, or how the product is like impacting the environment, you will be not able to choose the correct transportation. So if you are transporting a water bottle which is made of the glass, and in compared to that PET bottles, which one will lead to high emissions by the transportation and will lead to high cost by the transportation? Of course, it is glass. Why? because it will be having a very high weight, and also the losses will be there in the glass. So that is why the choosing and analyzing the whole life cycle assessment is very important part. Coming to the suppliers. So if you are trying to create a very important and sustainable product, and you are dependent for some of the products or some of the component of that product uh, to another supplier, and they don't have the data, you have not asked to them, or you are a OEM and somebody is you are supplying to somebody else who is a manufacturer of some product. In that case, you are always having a risk. Like right now we have the Toyota Kirloskar case, where they are trying to take those vendors which are having their GHG emissions accounted, and for that you have to do the life cycle assessment of your product. Coming to operations, so of course all the operations apart from the processes, manufacturing processes, so those are also impacting and giving you the high impact. Then a use phase, also a very important part of the life cycle assessment, which you need to take a decision on, like which is the highest point contributing in the process in terms of the environmental cost as well as the financial cost. Coming to the direct financial returns. So material cost reduction. So substituting very like impact raw material, high impact raw materials with like recycled recycled materials. Sorry, just starting afresh. So material cost reduction. How you can reduce the cost of the materials? First, you need to understand what is the uh, point where you can make the decision. So are you using the raw material? Are you using the virgin material? In that case, you need to understand where you can replace it. So maybe you are taking some material which is the waste for some other industry, or which is directly processed or uh, biomaterial. So in that case, if you are using those already existing in the supply chain materials, then it will be helping you to reduce the cost, and the impact of that in the environment will be very low. Coming to our energy cost savings. So manufacturing energy hotspots identified through LCA commonly reveal 10 to 30% reducible electricity waste through processes, design, or scheduling changes. Coming to our waste category. So using like or reducing the scrap, rework, and disposal cost average 3 to 7% of the revenue in the manufacturing. So LCA pinpoints you. So where is the uh, root cause of the problem, and you can target it, pinpoint. Now coming to the logistics cost optimization. As we have already discussed the case of the water bottle made of the glass and the PET bottles. In that case, we have already like discussed that if the glass is, since the glass is very heavy, you need to have the heavy transportation vehicles, or you need to have different or multiple vehicles to transport the same amount of the uh, glass bottles in compared to PET bottles. So in that case, of course, logistics is the very important part, and this is something which will be directly impacting you just after doing the life cycle assessment and optimization. Now coming to the reduced rework and redesign. So catching design issues at the concept stage via LCA can reduce you the cost, but if you are not doing at the very early stage, it may cost about 10 times. So this is very important. During the design phase, we can do things at very small investment on that product. But if you are doing the changes after the development of that product, it will be impacting your product negatively, and changing after will not lead you the optimized product. Extended product life cycle value. So products designed for durability and repairability carry lower total ownership cost. That is a winning proposition for the B2B buyers. Then improved resources and efficiency. So less material and energy input for the same functional output will lead you to higher margin per unit, not just lower environmental issues. Now, coming to product decision making. So product decision making is a process of making informed and strategic choices regarding materials, design, and processes, ensuring that the product meets performance requirements while optimizing cost and minimizing life cycle environmental impact. So during the product decision making, what can come in your mind? So during the manufacturing or making the decision, there could be numerous questions. So let me just uh, iterate them, like, uh, is the material quantity optimized? You can think over that. So suppose if you are a tire manufacturer, so in that case you are doing those grooves or using those walls for the tire, and what is the optimized amount of the material that you should be using. So of course strength test is one of the part for that, but life cycle assessment also gives you the direction on that. So optimized quantity of the material is very important. Have we taken the factor of safety correctly? Is it not too high? So that is something that can be answered by the life cycle assessment. Can we replace this material with the better alternative while maintaining the same functionality? Is something also can be answered by the life cycle assessment. Are we choosing the right transport routes for this week, for the right routes as well as the vehicles? So that can also be answered by the life cycle assessment. Is the use phase impact high? If it is, then how we can optimize this use phase impact also can be answered by the uh, life cycle assessment. If we are not using the water in the manufacturing process of some product, why it is like banned or restricted in some locations or some countries due to the aquatic toxicity. So this kind of regulatory risk, this kind of questions, this kind of optimization you can do by the life cycle assessment. So that is this is the kind of the decision making the life cycle assessment gives you. Now coming to the risk avoidance and branding. So in the risk avoidance, and what is the plan for the risk avoidance? So the first, what you will be doing, you will be doing the identification of the risk, where it is arising and what are the pinpoints of those. So that is something that you will be doing during the inventory preparation of your product and developing the product system. Then assess it. What is the quantity of that? Where it is coming from exactly? What is the source of that? How we can optimize that? That is comes under the assessing of the risk. Then control. So in that case, you will be mitigating all of those points, pinpoints or hot spots, and trying to reduce the risk associated with that particular process in your product system. And then finally preventing it from happening again or in other products. So this is a risk avoidance plan that we follow, and the life cycle assessment is something that follows it by its inner process. So it is integrated in the life cycle assessment. So first, what you will be trying to do, you will be trying to set the goal and a scope of the project. Then what you will be doing, you will be inventorizing of the process. So during the goal and scope, you will be asking what is the project, why we are doing the life cycle assessment, what is the point that we are going to do, who is the audience. Such kind of questions you will be trying to ask from the manufacturer or to yourself or for your supply chain. After that, you will be making an inventory for that particular questions that you have already asked. After that, what you will be doing, you will be assessing that inventory, and that is called the impact assessment. And after that, you will be interpreting like how it is impacting, which are the points which are having the process heavy or impacting in both terms, costing wise as well as the environment. So this is something risk avoidance gives and life cycle assessment gives in the D. So environmental product declaration. So this is something that nowadays companies and organization is asking, and if you are not having the EPDs, you will be not able to participate in the selling of your product. So you will be not able to bid to sell your product. Now, eco labeling certifications. So India has eco mark, then green pro certification. Europe have eco level. So different kind of certifications are there, and those are sometimes very mandatory and also gives you a credibility in the market. It gives you the branding. So this is something the EPD and eco labeling certificates gives you, and they are very important for your product, uh, environmental impact wise as well as costing wise. Otherwise, you will be not able to sell your product in the market. Then GRI, CDP standards, reporting, sustainability reporting. So in that case, how your life cycle assessment reports comes under this? Are they really asking for the life cycle assessment report? So not directly, but they are asking you to improve your KPIs, and GRI is nothing but just a report. What content is there and from where it is coming is very important, and to derive that content, you need to do the life cycle assessment for your product and to improve your KPIs in your sustainability reports. Coming to the EU CBAM or EU ETS. So in that case, carbon leakage is very big problem, and countries are trying to put a cap. So after emitting more than that emissions, after that cap, so you have to pay the um, taxes. So that to just say that these are my limits, this is something that my product is emitting, you need to have the life cycle assessment report. Or then coming to EPR regulations, so they are also like very important to exist in the market or to be away from the litigations and the penalties in the market. And then product carbon footprint is also something that is as equally demanded as the environmental product declaration and eco label certification. Access to new markets. So currently you might be existing in only in India, but you might aspire to go beyond that. And how you will be doing that? So are is there something that like you will be just selling your product to other markets? No. In that case, if you want to sell your product in other market, you have to have the basic requirements that they have on the environmental part or different regulatory guidelines. So in that case, or to just prove that your product is environmentally fit, you need to have the life cycle assessment report for your product and inventory and product system. So suppose if we talk about the EU and UK, they have the green public procurement policy, and in future maybe in India it can come like it is. We are hearing the news on that. So yeah, it is very like anyway it can come. So then OEM suppliers, I just quoted the Toyota Kirloskar, you can check that. Apart from that, green building projects like LEED certification, BREEAM, GRIHA, IGBC, GEM, all of those are asking for the EPDs or at least the eco level certificate. Those are the type 1 EPDs. So also the ESG driven institutional buyers are also asking for the EPDs or the life cycle assessment reports, or those are also the verified reports. So on that basis, they are putting the investment in your business. So this is something that you can get from the life cycle assessment. So in a case, you will be only existing in the in your country, that is in case our case India, and that too not for long. So we will be also evolving and will be replacing those which are not accepting the environmental norms. So yeah, and if you are aspirational to go abroad to sell in other countries, so of course you have to go fit environmentally to support or to sell in the other countries. Now, a very important part of our webinar, that is that we have promised you, understanding cost versus liability. So what in general we have as a cost in the life cycle assessment? So you might be having the life cycle assessment study cost, which there might be the cost of the software, there might be the cost of the consultant, right? Then a verification cost of that particular report. So after that, what cost is associated with the life cycle assessment or the EPD or the type 1 EPD, that is eco labeling. So material or process improvement, if you are having some problems or you have find the hotspot in the project, what you will be doing in that, you will be trying to optimize or minimize those impacts. Then supply chain optimization and training system, or trying to get your staff or workers trained for that. So these are some of the costs that you need to spend on. But what you will be getting in return, or what you will be facing if you are not facing that, if you are not putting that much of investment in that. So this is very small investment compared to what if you have not accepted the life cycle assessment, EPDs, or the sustainability in your product development. So you will be spending lakhs due to the wrong material or design choices during the whole life cycle of the product until the time when you are selling that. Then poor data leading to repeated analysis and wrong sustainability claims. So suppose you have analyzed all your factory level emissions, and after that you are implementing those points which you or findings that you have taken and trying to resolve the problem. That will only leading you to reduce the 30 to 40% of the efficiency, or to take that much of the efficiency. But if you are doing the life cycle assessment, you will be able to pinpoint or to check the whole life cycle assessment of the product. Then also, if you are anyhow you have given incorrect data, in that case you will be also facing the greenwashing and the litigation and the penalty on that, and the brand branding damage done by the greenwashing. So then cost which is you are spending during the redesigns and during the after the product launch. So as I have already discussed that if you have already designed your product and after that you are again and again changing those in the project, then what will be happening? You will be unnecessarily making your product system complicated. So in that case, you will be just spending the money and trying to quick fixes in your processes. So to design it efficiently in the very start, you should have life cycle assessment used in the very start phase. Inefficiencies across the life cycle, and which will be leading to higher operational cost like energy and waste. So of course, these are also the important thing that you will be paying for every day, right? And loss of the tender. So as we have already discussed, if you are not having the life cycle assessment report, as well as this EPD or our the EPD type 1, then you will be not able to participate in the new tenders. You will be not able to uh, network or to sell it abroad. Then a long-term high energy resource and disposal cost will be also a part of the eroding your investments. Then high scope 3 emissions and carbon pricing risk will be also there, and you will be not able to quantify your emissions particularly and totally customized with your product. So you will be only in case of the scope 3 and CBAM, you will be paying for the default emissions. And if you are having the life cycle assessment done, then you will be only paying for what exactly emissions are emitted by your project. So now what will be the phases of those investment and how it will be done, like, so implementation phase or and the baseline phase. In the very start, what you will be doing, collecting the data, trying to set up the system, managing or starting a data management system where you will be only having the data, and after that you will be trying to calculate those emissions and checking which are the processes having the very high and tough point in your product system. There you will be having also the baseline for your product. Then optimization. During the optimization phase, what you will be also having is the type 1, type 2 or type 3 EPDs. Apart from that, LCA report that you can have, or you can participate in the different marketing bids. You can after that first time of the life cycle assessment, you will be able to redesign or change or to compare your product with alternatives that you already having. You can also compare those product with the market leading products, and you can improve your products, right? And after that you can integrate your life cycle assessment findings and your procurement specification. Apart from that, you will be also having the EPDs at that time. Right. So at that time, you will be having optimized structure at the very first level. Now, after the optimization, after a few years, you will be having the strategic integration where you will be trying to change the processes, optimizing the processes, and whatever new things are coming in your product system, which are very optimized and very good for your product system. So this is kind of the timeline and phases of the life cycle assessment in uh, a factory, right, or an organization. So this is a kind of plan that we have apparently. Now, coming to the interface, case study interface is the leading or global manufacturer for the modular carpets. Um, they are operating in the US and China. So not going into the company, but to check this, we are having this one category, that is the waste reduction in the waste to landfill. So they have diverted their waste just by the 8%. They are not sending most of their waste. This report is being published in the 2020. So this is something that we have latest. Now, what interface has done? So I had a case study of that, and they in 2011 they were only having the waste diversion by the 84%. Sorry, waste diversion by the 16%, and they were trying to not send the waste 84% to the landfill. They were trying to save the material and working only on the waste, and by that they have got around the $450 million by only the reducing the waste and using the material that is already present there or as a waste. or bio-based material. So this is something that we can achieve. So this $450 million they have saved till 2011 since 1996. So this is kind of achievement that we can have from the life cycle assessment and optimizing your processes, your product life cycle. So by this, what I want to say is that if you are trying to invest in the sustainability, what will be happening? Are you thinking that it is just a waste of the money? No, it is not. You are optimizing your processes. You are responsible for your processes and getting the branding of that. So that is very important. It is not just taking your money, but it is giving you the money in return at the best level you can get. So the last quiz that we have after this session, how do you now see the life cycle assessment? So if you have the option A, a cost saving and strategic tool. So yes, it like it identifies where is money is going, where it is wasted, and where is the risk is accumulated. So if you are choosing the option A, I feel that this investment on this time of this investment of the time on this webinar is good for you. And if it is not, then yeah, you have to like check it again and read the life cycle assessment more. So now going back to the life cycle assessment again, sorry, the CEO's challenge again. So if we talk about the what changes, what things you can do so that your process, your product system can be better. So I think, I hope that you will be able to answer this case study or the question. So this is all from my side. And yeah, if there is any question, of course, I am answering those. Is there any question? So hello, Amit ji, are you there?
Hello. Yes,
So this is all from my side. You can take over it.
I think we have some questions. So can you please type your question in the chat box? If at all you are facing any problem in writing the questions in the chat box, you can kindly mail them on the ID that was provided during the registration, on the post of the registration for the webinar. You can post your questions there. Your questions will be well taken and they will be answered by Mr. Prince at the earliest.
So, sir, can we give my mail ID in the to the attendees?
I think it is available on the webinar post with everyone. So kindly take the note of that ID and use that ID for posting your questions of the
Yeah.
session. And the last, I just thank Mr. Prince for highlighting the importance of getting the LCA done by the industries. and should not take all the industry and the organization, they should not be taking it as an expenditure or a budget intensive activity. Rather, it can be fruitful to them in many aspects, and it can get them benefit from in many aspects, be it the competitive market advantage, future ready for the compliance, the ratings, the energy conservation, calculate embedded carbon, product carbon footprint analysis, setting out the targets, performance tracking of the targets, and many other associated activities. Since sustainability, climate change, environmental impacts, these have become a major topics nowadays. So I request everyone, if you have any doubt, any questions, post to our mail IDs. Thank you all for attending the webinar. Please stay connected to the KBS Certification Services Limited page, where we are posting the frequent hour sessions that are organized by KBS on the topics related to the climate change, ESG, and sustainability. Do connect. And also there is a detailed training program on LCA. Do check the website for its information. Thank you everyone for connecting. Thank you, Mr. Prince, for the webinar.